Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 540, let's talk about Thassa Deep Dwelling. I do apologize, it's been a couple days since the last video. I kind of broke my streak of every day. But, well, I had to build some decks. And there was a little unfortunateness we'll get to later. But anyway, we got a 4 mana 6/5 Indestructible God, of course, Devotion 5. But at the beginning of your end step, you exile up to one other target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield. So it's an instant blink. It leaves and comes right back, but it is triggered at the beginning of your end step. So there's certain things that just won't work when it's at that step. So But what I tried to do is, this is probably the creature heaviest blue deck I've done in quite a while. And as such, now, there are competing theories on whether or not you want Thassa's Devotion to be turned on for this particular deck. I don't know that we have a preference one way or another. Yes, her being a creature makes it easier to remove or to deal, but it's just kind of the hazard of the way that we're building the deck with so many creatures and so many pips out there. So anyway, let's look at our land first. Or, well, not really land, our mana ramp, if you will. Man, there's a bunch of randomness here. We're going to blow through these obvious ones. Seer's Lantern, Altar of the Pantheon, Hierophant's Chalice, Vessel of the Endless Rest. I think Vessel is actually not a bad card. I think Theros actually made this card better, just simply because we can tuck those escape cards now. Pilgrim's Eye, while not ramping you, it does get you an island. The same thing for like Traveler's Amulet. Pyramid of the Pantheon is, poor man's Gilded Lotus. Not that Gilded Lotus is expensive, but you're going to build your own Lotus here. But Chronotog Totem, obviously will never turn into the creature. It's just a 3 mana rock. Blue Mana Battery, yeah, I'll admit it's not that good, but it does have like the old school crit, right? But let's look at Sea Scryer, because not a lot of people play this. 2 mana 1/1 taps for a mana. Sounds like a green card. It really does. Yeah, it's colorless. I mean, you can filter to blue, but we're not going to have probably ever use that. It's tap for a colorless, right? But energy tap. Now, this a lot of time equates to blue Dark Ritual, because 3's about the average. There's some higher, some lower, but you target untapped creature you control becomes tapped, and you automatic colorless mana. So, the more expensive creature that you do, let you tap, which most of the time is not going to matter, because if that's the creature that Thassa is going to blink at end of turn anyway, it's going to come back untapped. So, anyway, now let's get into the categories of creatures. I have got, as I said, categories here. Let's look at creatures that give you, obviously there's all ETBs. Creatures that give us some kind of card advantage. Like Muldrifter is going to draw us cards, but Mnemonic Wall is going to get the instant sorcery back. Sphinx of Uthlan is going to Factor Fiction. Overwhelmed Apprentice, Scrying 2. Archaeomancer, regrowing an instant or sorcery. Seagate Oracle, kind of an anticipate thing, Canal Courier. The reason why it's not, I guess, yeah, technically it is the end of the battlefield. The Monarch doesn't exist until someone becomes the Monarch, but then after that, it changes, based on combat damage. Love the Monarch mechanic. A lot of times it's just the motivation a table needs to get a little aggro. So Nothing encourages people to attack you like wearing a crown. So, Yeah. We can blink this to be the monarch. Champion of Wits, drawing cards. Augur of Bolus, there again, still drawing those, filtering. Watcher of Tomorrow, our first creature with Hideaway, so that's not bad. And then Sage Owl's flying out of the box. Flavorful. Come. Yeah, you put the same 4 cards back, but if you got to have that land. Now, then we have creatures that when they come into play make other creatures, like tokens. The Whirler Rogue makes Thopters. The Trishkulovus. Now, granted, this is a little more involved. You spend 7 mana to cast it, and then 3 mana to remove the counters to make 3 Trishkulovites. What a name, right? And then, into turn, you're going to blink the Trishkulovus. So, you can spend 3 mana to get 3 Trishkulovites. Yeah, I know it's not the best, but that's what I got. Wing Splicer is not bad, though. I mean, being able to repeatedly make flying golems seems good. Eldrazi Sky Spawner. This is in there mainly because it is kind of low on the curve, and if you need to blink it to get more of those spawns, the scions, to add the mana, you totally can. Now we have, I almost said clone type creatures, but I'm not even playing with clone. Body double. Because typically most of the best creatures get killed, right? Or at least that's the idea. So, and if something better comes along, we can blink it and it'll come back. So, same thing, mirror image. Gigantoplasm. Vizier of Many Faces. Sakashima. Now, the beautiful part about Sakashima is when Thassa is a creature, Sakashima can copy it. And therefore you get... but Sakashima keeps her name. Right? And so you get 2 Thassa triggers. So... now... this is the other category of... oh, no, big beaters. Tidewalker. What about Tidewalker? This doesn't see a lot of play. So it's essentially, it's going to start off with power and toughness equal number of islands you control, right? So it's better late than early. But with vanishing, these time counters come off to every upkeep. So you can keep this thing alive. I mean, even if you've got to play it suboptimally and put 4 or 5 counters on it, and then once they start to dwindle down, you've got more islands, you can blink it, and it comes back. It resets the time counters. Actually, probably more, because you probably played land since then. Anyway, kind of neat. Academy Elite, typically a big beater in a pinch. It can be some card draw. And Caliph. That second, I mean, it's a 3 mana beater anyway. Yeah, 3 toughness is easy to kill. What's the phrase? Dies to everything. But that second ability is really valuable. Not that it really stops anything, but it keeps people from double and triple spelling in a turn. Now, Brine Elemental. No, I'm not playing with the Vesuvan Doppelganger. That's the Pickles combo from Time Spiral Block. But this one, yeah. Something similar, though. Brine Elemental, we all know what it does. You play it morph down, and when it's turned face up, each opponent skips their next untap step. So it's kind of a one-sided stasis if you get it. But I am running Ixodron because, see, I started off with just the Ixodron because I was like, wow, this way I can turn all creatures, regardless of what they are, into face-down colorless 2/2s. And Ixodron will be the king of all 2/2s, you know what I'm saying? So, but if you've got the Brine Elemental out, you can just cast the Brine Elemental, play Ixodron, it'll flip Briny over along with everything else, and then you can pay the morph cost, granted it's expensive, on Briny to flip it up. Nobody else gets an untap step, and during your end step, you blink Ixodron, everything becomes 2/2s again and flips over, including the Brine. And yeah, it's an expensive way to do it, but I didn't have a Vesuvian Shapeshifter, another copy. Peregrine Drake is a great card to blink in and blink out, especially if you are caught in the middle of, I want to cast this creature, but I also want to hold up mana for my counter magic. So you can, if you've got a Peregrine Drake on the board and you're in a position to where you know you need to defend with your counter magic, you can tap out at end of turn, blink the Drake, it untaps 5 lands, you're good to go. Ingenious Thief, look at target player's hand. Triskelion, to reset them counters, yo. Now, all right. We're going to go back to the dark here with Merfolk Assassin. Now, Merfolk Assassin was probably one of the first cards I had picked out for the set. Because, double blue, destroy target creature that has Island Walk. The old school players will know the next card that's coming. War Barge. Now, War Barge it is definitely awesome with the Merfolk Assassin. It's one of the oldest combos there is. They were both in the dark. I remember finding it back then, and I was like, whoa, I thought I had really found something broken, But War Barge by itself is not bad. If War Barge leaves play this turn, target creature is buried. If you've got open mana, that makes people not want to remove it. I mean, now granted, it's not exactly a huge threat by itself, so it's not like people want to remove it. But if somebody does target the War Barge, or if it is the victim of a Vandal Blast or something, you can just give as many creatures Island Walk as you can afford, and then they'll die along with the War Barge. Let's see, what else we got? Chancellor of the Forge. Enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard for the free. I like it. Veldalken Plotter. Exchange control of target land you control and target land an opponent controls. Now this, yeah, right? It's not bad. To potentially get those combo lands that people need. Deceiver Exarch, for when you gotta, tap or untap something. And I'm trying this Nadir Kraken. I feel like that I'm going to be drawing a little bit of cards with the, the blinky creatures and whatnot. So we're going to give it a chance. See how many tentacles we can get. We're going to run over into removal. Starting with the creatures that do some kind of removal. Enters the battlefield, you bounce each creature your opponents control. So this doesn't affect yours, just your opponents. Toughness less than the number of islands you control. That's a bunch. We have got Dungeon Geist. Tap target creature doesn't untap. 3/3 flower for 4. It's not bad. Mana War. Bounce it. Now, I've always loved Mana War, They added one more mana to it and gave it flying, made it a bird. Same card, essentially. And most of the time, Miss Raven doesn't see play because Mana War is strictly better, because most of the time when you're looking for that slot in a deck, you don't really care about attacking or blocking. The flying, you're playing it because of the low curve of Mana War, generally. But in a deck like this where you want redundant copies, it'll work. Rest of the removal. Of course, we got Bluster Squall. You know, tap everything for 4 is not bad. Negate. I think Turn Aside doesn't see as much play. I don't play it as much as I probably should. Because generally, yeah, it doesn't cover global effects. But, it counters a lot of stuff that would bother you. Spell Pierce. People want that value. They tap out all the time. I do too, Sleep. Unsubstantiate. Memory Lapse. But let's look at Backy's Curse. Now, Backy's Curse has just been chilling in the Homeland Binder for, 20 odd years. But I think its stock is rising, in my opinion. The 2 damage to each creature for each creature enchantment on it. Now, I may not be the best at reading the room, but my impression from Theros is I have built a lot of these Theros decks by now, and, enchantments are pushed. Pushed in power level. They're pushed. They want us to build them, especially auras. So I feel like Becky's Curse is going to do something. And you know what? What about that story? Oh, man, I was winning good until I got Becky's Cursed. What? Of course, I'm running the Crystal Shard to blink things, Thassa's Intervention. I felt like all of the gods have to have their own intervention. I don't know why. Yeah, Thassa's Bite It would probably be good in here too, but for some reason I felt it's thematic that I needed to have the interventions in all of them. And then Monastery Siege, which were probably, both of those abilities are really good. I got 3 non-basic lands, Desert of the Mindful to cycle, Memorial to Genius, maybe draw some cards, and Crumbling Vestige. Now, I don't know, for a tap land, this kind of negates the need of a tap land, or the drawback of a tap land, rather. Because, yeah, it enters the battlefield tap, but you're getting a blue when you cast it anyway, so, hey. Anyway, I thought I would give it a try. Why not, right? So, that is Thassa. Oh, which way are they? Love these. And one thing that I'm trying to do is the gods. I'm trying to get all Nyx landed out. With 1 per pack and 5 different ones, obviously, it's I didn't buy enough to naturally do it, so I'm going to have to buy / trade for them. But I figure if anybody was going to have it, it would be the gods, right? Oh. Well, that is it for 540, Thassa Deep Dwelling. So we're going to put 540 on the wall, and that completes another row. What is that, 10, 11, 12. That is 12 Theros decks down. So what is that, like 17 left to go? Is 29 right? I don't even remember. Anyway. Yeah, I guess you can see the unfortunate part. I kind of ripped open my head the other day. That's why I didn't record. I couldn't get the bleeding to stop. Anyway, office place accident, weirdly enough. Pro tip, don't fight with filing cabinets. They win. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, one more thing. If you haven't checked out the Homeward Path podcast, it's a great podcast. Granted, most of the time it's not as commander focused, but it is a great podcast. A good friend of mine does it, and he had me on, and we talked about community building. Along with the the random old magic stories that just come with Brine, right? But check it over. I believe it's also on. He's got audio upload on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. I listen to it as podcast because I'm in my car a lot, But give him a shout out and check it out. It's just two good friends sitting around talking about magic, which is pretty much what me and you are doing right now. Anyway, it's time to shuffle and cut.